Hello guys and welcome back to the Traitors, and today we're here to discuss the third episode of season 3. Now this episode was potentially one of the most toxic episodes of the entire show, of any season that I've seen so far. There was so much negativity towards each other. It was actually kind of crazy, but did I love the drama? Absolutely. But we are going to jump straight in and break everything down. Now, if you remember in the previous episode, we did see Armani give the traitors some advice about how they're just playing it a little bit too subtle at the moment. You need to be a little bit more out there. You need to give it some oomph. Well, we're gonna see how that works out for her in this episode, aren't we? So, with no murder, we haven't really got much to talk about at the breakfast table, but we do have a lot of suspicions before we jump into what is potentially probably the best mission we've ever had on the show, but we'll get to that a little bit later. This suspicion segment of the episode was very interesting because a lot of people are starting to pick up on Armani. We've got Leanne thinking it's Armani. We've got Alex thinking it's Armani. We've got Jake suspicious of Armani and Linda and Gaz and everyone, and just it's all becoming a little bit too much, to the point where I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, Armani's just not playing this game very well. I was very sort of happy with the way she was playing in episode 1. I thought, oh yeah, this is good. Like, keep up the same energy that you had coming in. But it's becoming a little bit too much, and it's become a little bit too obvious. And the fact that even her sister's a little bit like, every time she says something, I'm just thinking this is not going to end well for her. We also had Charlotte being like, oh, I actually think Armani's faithful. And I was just thinking, oh, Charlotte, with your fake Welsh accent. Bestie, you don't know anything. You don't even know how to learn Welsh. Next up, we had a very interesting segment where Livi spoke about her prosthetic eye. Didn't even notice it. Like, it kind of was like, wow, that is the best prosthetic eye ever. What the fuck? This is incredible. Like, what? That's wild and crazy. But hearing her backstory, I feel like it allowed me to get to know her a little bit more. She's one of the ones that I kind of put to the bottom of the bin in terms of, like, I don't really know who you are, you aren't standing out to me yet. But she's becoming a lot more outspoken, and I'm actually enjoying her a little bit more on the show, which is nice. So it was nice to get to know her in this episode. I do like the fact that the show introduces us to people as they become more important across the series. So sometimes you can go 3-4 episodes without knowing someone and they're just there in the background, and then all of a sudden they become more important in the story, and therefore they get more airtime. We get introduced to them. That happened to a couple of other people in this episode. So Jake and a couple of the others, including Joe and was it Leon that was there as well at the same time, they're basically suspicious that Kaz is a traitor, and obviously he's not. And it does feel like they're kind of just picking on him at this point for, like, very, very poor reasons. Like, we're gonna get into some of the absolute worst reasons to accuse somebody as a traitor later on, but it's fine. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But he's thinking that Kaz is potentially a traitor because Linda defended him so hard at the round table, which actually, is that a good strap for a traitor to really ride, like, the yes, this person is not a traitor bandwagon? I don't know. I don't think it works, potentially. I think Linda's kind of let herself down because Jake's so dead set on it being Linda, to the point where he's like, I'm not even going to bother voting for her anymore. I'm going to wait until we have to vote her off, because I would rather try and suss out some of the more hidden ones than the obvious one, which is Linda. Which, fair enough, that is a valid strategy. But him being like, oh, well, Linda said that Kaz is 100% a faithful, and she'd know, so therefore she's got to be a traitor, and I reckon he's a traitor as well because she's defending him. I just think it's poor logic, and Jake actually isn't as smart as we think he is. Yeah, he's worked out, like, Linda, and he kind of works out Armani because Armani was doing the same thing, but it's almost like wrong method, right result, and I don't think that makes you a good traitor hunter. So this mission was wild and crazy. I have said for the longest time that I feel like there needs to be a bigger focus on shields in the missions than the actual cash. And this Challenge took that to the extreme, and I'm actually excited to see where they go with the missions from now on, because I do think they've got the right balance now. The first two challenges so far have been very, very interesting in the sense of, if they want to succeed, they have to focus either on the cash or they have to focus on the shield aspect of the challenge. And this group of faithfuls really want to make it to the end of the game with absolutely no money in the prize fund, which I find hysterical. I genuinely cannot believe that we've got to a point in the game where people are like, nah, we don't need the money, we just need to survive another night. I think somebody in the cast was like, the money doesn't matter to me if I don't stay another night. And I was like, that's all fair and good, but if you make it to the end of the game and you got like £2 between you, that's not much of a prize fund, and that's because you've been focusing on getting to the end of the game rather than building up that prize fund. So this is where it's starting to matter a lot more about whether we're choosing money or whether we're choosing safety. And I think that is the perfect blend of challenges and the mission, making the missions count towards something in the game other than just building the prize fund. It didn't matter in season 1. Season 2, they had a little bit of a better balance, but the third season so far is knocking it out the park with these challenges. The challenges themselves are not that interesting, but it's all about who is a traitor, working out who's the traitor, because it adds another layer of gameplay in. The traitors are trying to stop as many people as possible getting the shield, right? That makes sense. So surely, if we're going to be playing these games, you've got to be focusing in the challenges again on who is trying to sabotage the team's attempt to get shields. Not get money, but get shields. Because obviously the traitors want money. They would rather money over shields. So it just creates this fantastic dynamic, and I am really enjoying it. That being said, this one was a little bit fucked, because they're rowing on this big rowboat. None of these motherfuckers can row. You got Fran and you got Lisa up the front doing their best to be like, row, row, row. And we got introduced to Fran as well, which was really nice. It was nice to actually get to know her. She seems really chill. She seems really lovely. And I would like to get to know her a little bit more, I guess, in future episodes. But for now, it's fine. But I did find it increasingly hilarious when people were just getting absolutely fucked off of each other because nobody had a rhythm when it come to rowing. So they're just rowing and it's just going absolutely horrendously wrong. The first stop was obviously fuel. They had to light a shield, and if they were inside the fire when it was lit, then obviously they would get the shield, and all the money inside as well would also get banked. And obviously they had to sacrifice 2 people to get this fuel for the fire. So it took a little bit of persuading, but Jake and what's her face? Charlotte, Welsh Charlotte, not Welsh Charlotte, but kind of Welsh Charlotte, does an accent Welsh Charlotte. They got off the boat and they're just standing there and they're like, okay, so we're up for murder tonight. Whatever. Sure, fine. Everybody's going to be sacrificing at every single one of the plinths, right? Right? No. This team stops at 2 money stop-offs and goes, nah, we don't need the money. We'd rather the safety. Besties. Besties. You know you do need to build up this prize fund. It's not like America where the last challenge they just bump it up to the full amount because that's what they were planning on giving away anyway. The BBC is cheap. If they can get away with giving you 10 quid, they will give you 10 quid. Okay? Have you seen Pointless? The prize fund on that is 200 quid. So really, we need to be tempering our expectations. Get as much money as you can. Rinse the BBC for as much as you possibly can, because this is not going to last very long otherwise. So at the next stop, it's fuel, and at this point, Mina's had enough. She's like, get me off this fucking boat right now. Get me off, because Linda was fucking her off behind. Linda was like, you're not rowing at the right time. Like she's some kind of rowing expert. Like she's been in the Olympics for rowing. Bestie, you're an opera singer. Stay off your high horse, please. So Mina gets off, and so does Kaz, which I thought was quite interesting. They both just couldn't be bothered to be on that boat anymore, which is absolutely so funny. And then the last stop was £5,000. And they decided to get that, and Freddie and Maya got off, I think it was. It was one of the sisters, I'm fairly certain it was Maya. And I found it very interesting that the first thing Freddie said when he got off was, I hope they lose. I hope they don't make it in time. And Maya was like, is Freddie a traitor? And I was like, no, he's pissed off. He is just wound the fuck up. I would be the same. I would be hoping that boat sank. I'm like, fuck these guys making me get off the boat and putting myself up for murder just so that they can be selfish and have their own time. I'll be fuming. I'd be the exact same as Freddie. I'd be like, fuck these guys. Because not only has nobody stepped up and taken themselves off for the other $5,000, but we've had to sacrifice ourselves because we want some money to win. Oh, honestly, I'd have been absolutely fuming. But this challenge was so entertaining. So really, rather than telling you who's got a shield, I'm going to tell you who doesn't have a shield. Obviously, Mina doesn't count because she's a traitor, so she can't get murdered. But we've got Jake, we've got Kaz, we've got Maya, we've got Charlotte, and we've got Freddie. Those 5 are up for noms tonight. I say noms, they're up for murder tonight, which is very, very interesting. And as we're going to see, I think there's a very obvious one in between all of them. So we got to talk about the fight. We got to talk about Jake versus Dan. Now, I have seen a lot of people online critiquing Jake for his part in the argument. And also, I don't know, I'm really conflicted in this argument because I really do feel like Jake had valid points. People were being selfish to the point of, what's the point of playing this game if there's no money to win? That was my argument. But then Dan was like, well, it's a self-interested game. We're not meant to be working as a team. You can't trust anybody. You just got to make it through the night. And I did agree with him. I felt like he actually understands the game and he's trying his best to act in his own self-interest, which is exactly what you have to do here. It's not easy breezy. It's not la-di-da. It is a tough game, and I'm sorry, but sometimes you gotta do some tough things in order to get away with murder. And in this case, yeah. Yeah. So, as much as I agreed with what Jake said, I just felt like this argument, A, was unnecessary. I would have been pissed off coming back if I had to step off that boat and nobody else did. I'd have been absolutely fuming. But equally, what are you going to do about it? You're the one that volunteered to get off the boat, so it's your own fault, innit? Honestly, this round table was so crazy. I have almost a whole page of notes. So we are going to do our best to get through this in a timely manner, but I got a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about. Jake started this whole round table off, and he's like, right, I'm putting my suspicion on Linda, okay? Linda. And he's like, right, you said yesterday that you think that Kaz is 100% faithful. How can you think he's 100% faithful if you're not a traitor? Because then you'd know for definite he is a traitor, he isn't faithful. And she's like, I just feel like that's something that people say. You just say I'm 100% faithful. And actually, I agreed with her. I feel like Jake likes to think he's got all of these amazing, like, thoughts and theories. And he's correct. But his reasoning is so poor. Like, what do you mean you're calling her out because she said I'm 100% faithful? If we called out every single person saying 100% faithful in the last 2 series, I reckon we'd have enough to start 2 football teams. Okay? 2. Which is wild and crazy. Everybody says it. It's just a thing that you say. So I felt like, first of all, he set off on the wrong foot. That was a poor argument. Then we got Linda going, well, I think it's Jake and Joe. And I just sat there and I was like, oh, Linda, come on. You've got to accuse somebody other than the people who are accusing you. This is not good gameplay because you're literally hearing someone say your name and going, well, I think it's you then. It was so jarring. It was so unbelievably jarring. But then Jake turns it on to Kaz and Armani. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go. What's he going to say? And Armani was like, why am I defending him? Well, because he's an asset and I think I'd rather have him in the game building us up the cash fund and like doing well in the challenges than vote him out because he could be a traitor, but we have no actual evidence on him. Jake, once again, has just struck absolute dirt when it comes to uncovering these traitors because he's like, oh, I'm thinking about the whole angle of, oh, you're a doctor, healing people by day, killing people by night. It just works. That would make you a great traitor. Huh? Sorry, excuse me? Sorry, in what way does your job... He actually said this. Just because I have a job doesn't make me a traitor. And I was like, absolutely fair and valid. I don't think Claudia is picking people based on their jobs. Like, oh, you work at the supermarket checkout. You're going to be a traitor. Oh, you work in a high finance business in London. You're going to be a faithful. Oh, you work in a church. That must mean you have to be a traitor because nobody would suspect that. Like, come on. Are you being serious? I genuinely cannot get over how poor Jake is at reasoning his thoughts. Sometimes he's right. He's right with the Linda and the Armani comments. But his working is so wrong. It's unbelievable. It's like saying, oh, okay, what's 256 times 4? And they're like, oh, it's this answer. How did you get that? Well, I added 2 and 5 and 4 and then minus to 5 and then I added another 5 and then times it by 3. It's like, what? Huh? What do you mean you did that? That's not how you get there. It's so jarring. Hello, I completely forgot to mention about the whole Harold Shipman comment. So I'm currently doing this in a voiceover. Ooh, spooky. But yeah, I completely forgot about the Harold Shipman comment. And it was only when I came to editing this that I was like, I have to talk about it. So that was crazy. I feel like everyone like really was like, oh my God, I'm so offended by that. And I was like, besties, get a grip. It really isn't that deep. But also, Kaz, I feel like that was not the hill to die on. I feel like you could have worded it a little bit better. But that was genuinely one of the funniest moments ever. Did not expect Harold Shipman to get a comment. So yeah, that was very funny. So then we get people questioning Armani. And I'm thinking, okay, this is not going down well. Alex is questioning Armani. Leon's calling out Kaz. It's just not going well. Joe's like, I've decided, guys. I know who I'm voting for. And I'm thinking, Joe, you absolute knob. What's going on here? What's going on? And when he's asked to, like, expand on his points, oh, I don't think I should say. I don't think I'll say. I'd have voted him off just for that. I'd have been like, get off this round table if you're not going to explain yourself. Because where else are you going to explain yourself if not the round table? And I just found that really frustrating. Then we have Maya blaming Freddie. And I was thinking, okay, we're just going to skip over this because Freddie obviously isn't a traitor. And I've explained why I think he said that because I would have been pissed off as well. I don't think it was a very traitorish comment. Oh, God. And if he was going to make a traitorous comment, would he really make it in front of someone that's not a traitor? I always say that. People are smarter than you give them credit for, apart from Linda, bless her. But even then, she hasn't said outright that I'm a traitor or said anything traitorish. It's just the one time that she went when her traitor name was called. Really funny, though. So then Tyler brings up a fantastic point. And this was where I was like, okay, Jake, this is the kind of methodology that you need for your answers. Because Tyler said, I struggle to believe that at this point in the game, there would be 2 sisters left in the game. And I was like, huh? And he's like, because that's 2 people who are closely worked together. So the only way that you guys are not targets for the traitors is if one of you is a traitor. And I was like, this guy's got it. This guy's absolutely cracked the code. And then obviously Myra's asked, do you believe that Armani is a traitor? And Armani's like, I'm 60% certain that she is. And that was just the nail in the coffin. That was it. Her sister's testimony was just... It was done. It was done at that point, innit? It's just done. So I felt bad for her. But Armani basically said that she's open with her thoughts and feelings outside of the round table. And yet other people aren't the same way with her. Because she's getting blindsided at this round table and she doesn't know why people haven't come and addressed this with her before, when she's always addressing, oh, I think you might be a traitor. Oh, I think this person's a traitor. Oh, have you heard this person said this? Have you heard this person said this? She's always open. And I actually did feel bad for her because I do feel like this was a little bit of a blindside. She thought she was doing absolutely incredibly and then she gets voted out. And it's like, this is really, really tough to take on board. So we end up with voting time and the votes were as follows. Fran voted for the wrong sister, Maya. Joe voted for Kaz. Lisa voted for Joe. Freddie voted for Armani. Armani voted for Charlotte. Alex voted for Armani. Charlotte voted for Kaz. Maya voted for Freddie. Kaz voted for Freddie. Jake voted for Armani. Anna voted for Kaz. Mina voted for Armani. Leanne voted for Armani. Leon voted for Armani. Dan voted for Armani. Linda voted for Jake. Livi voted for Armani. Tyler voted for Armani. So, the final scores on the doors were Armani got 9 votes, Kaz got 3, Freddie got 2, Charlotte, Joe, Jake, and Maya all got 1 each. Tough time for Armani. She thought she was running the show. She thought she'd give some advice to her little traitor mates, but she got voted out. And the most interesting vote was actually Mina voting for Armani and backstabbing her fellow traitor. At that point, I think Armani was like, yeah, it's done. It's done. It's over. The game's over. Cool. Bye-bye. It was sad to see her go, but equally, you played the game poorly. I thought you were fascinating and entertaining. You just weren't that great at the game, and that's absolutely fine. You shouldn't feel bad about that. Okay, so we've got 2 more things to talk about. The first being who to murder. So as I said earlier, there's 5 people they can pick from. Jake, Freddie, Charlotte, Maya, and... who was the other person? Kaz. Yes, those 5. I think the smart play here is voting off Maya. And I think anybody else would be ridiculously stupid. Personally, I would have voted off Jake. Or killed Jake. Because then Linda can play the whole, why would I pick the one person who is very suspicious of me? Or she could try and turn it on Kaz, like, maybe Kaz did try and get rid of him. She could do something interesting there. I don't think that if I was in that game and someone who's been blaming this person, I'd immediately go, oh, you got rid of them. That's too obvious a play. Whereas it's like the perfect double bluff. It is an obvious play, and therefore people would second guess themselves and be like, oh, maybe it isn't them. I feel like that would be how it would play out. But the smart play here is kill Maya. The reason why I would kill Maya is because she is pretty much confirmed a faithful now. There is no way in hell that there are going to be 2 sisters as the traitors and then one of them openly just accuses the other at the round table. That's just not happening. So Maya's basically confirmed faithful, which absolutely fair and valid, but she got to go now because she's never getting banished. So she has to be murdered at some point. And what perfect time than when she doesn't have a shield and literally everybody else is a suspect currently, or someone that could potentially be damaging to them if they kill them. I think it's the perfect time to get rid of Maya. It would be dumb to do anything else. And if they do anything else, I will be disappointed. The end of the show. Cheeky little teaser. Because they love to leave us on a little bit of a cliffhanger. Real replacement. There's 2 new people coming to the castle. Now, I saw online and I was tipper-tapping on Twitter. And I was like, I've noticed that there's 2 and not 3. And they were like, no, there are 3. I went back and watched. There's only 2. And they confirmed on Uncloaked. Only 2. So therefore, who is it? Who are these 2 mystery people? Because 3 people got booted at the game at the start. But I have a feeling that they're going to come back for season 4. I don't know whether they'll bring them back in this series. I think, personally, if they bring all 3 back in this series, they need to do another couple of episodes. Because, or they need to do a double murder night at some point. A double murder night could go crazy. Or a double banishment. That would go even crazier. But I think they just need to do something in order to cull the herd. Because we're at 17 people now? And we're on episode 3. I think that's on good stead to have 5 in the final episode. But if we add another 3 people in, it just gets a little bit messy, a little bit complicated. My other theory is that these 2 people are returning players. We've seen in season 2 of the US that they brought back Kate, and I thought that was a great twist. That was a really, really, really good twist. I think they could do something similar here. Maybe have Diane come back and not Charlotte. Who's the other one? I don't know. I don't know who they would bring back. I don't know. I think it would be really interesting just if they brought back some old people and had them try and suss out who the traitors were. I think that would be absolutely fascinating. But anyway, that is all we got time for today. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I will be back on Thursday for Wednesday's episode. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And check out some of my other Traitors series on the channel. I have done every single Traitors season that I can get my hands on. So that includes UK 2, US 1 and 2, then there's Australia 1 and 2, and then there's New Zealand 1. I haven't done UK 1 because I've seen it about 100 times and I've got nothing more to say on that show, on that season. Loved it, but there are better seasons out there. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I've said that before. I will see you guys later. Keep on ranting. Bye now.